Synthetic division. In this video, we'll learn and practice a quick method of dividing polynomials. It is restricted to divisors of the form x minus k. I have a division problem. It's 3x cubed minus 7x squared plus 8x plus 1 divided by x minus 2. And I've done it with long division. And I found the quotient 3x squared minus x plus 6 plus 13 over x minus 2. But now I want to do it with what's called synthetic division, which is faster and less writing. So I start by taking my dividend, 3x cubed minus 7x squared plus 8x plus 1. And I say to myself, since it's written in descending order, I don't really need the x squareds and x cubes and so forth. I can just take them out and leave the coefficients. Those are the important numbers. Now, I draw a line underneath, but I leave space to write below these numbers, and I start by bringing down the 3 at the beginning. Now, that's the dividend. Where's the divisor? Well, the divisor is x minus 2, and I take the opposite of the minus 2 because I don't want to have to do all these little changing signs that I did in the long division in red. So if I take the opposite, I won't have to change signs and add. My signs will already be changed. Now I multiply 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, and negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1. And that is the same plus 6 and negative x squared that I had right here. Take that negative 1 and multiply by 2, and that gives me negative 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. That's that same minus 2 and 6 that we have right there. Well, now I multiply 6 times 2. 6 times 2 is 12, and 12 plus 1 is 13. So there's the remainder. Now, if you look at the answer and the coefficients under the line here, this is the quotient. And all I need to do is fill in the powers of x. Since I started with an x cubed, I'm going down 1 power. So 3x squared minus 1x plus 6, and 13 is the remainder. Let's go through another example with the steps. So the first step is to write the coefficients of the dividend in descending order of powers and use 0 for any missing powers. So I have 5x fourth minus 2x squared, and there's an x third missing. So I'm going to write 5, 0 for the x third, negative 2, and then I don't have any more missing powers, so just write the rest of the coefficients. Make sure you capture the sign. Now I'm going to write the opposite of the number added to x in the divisor. So I look at that, that's a plus 2. I'm going to write it the opposite, negative 2, and I make it in a little corner. That's just how we write it. Now I'm going to put a line underneath, leaving space for another set of numbers. And I start by bringing down the first number, which is 5 here, and writing it below the line. Now there's sort of a zigzag pattern that happens. I multiply 5 by negative 2. That gives me negative 10. And then I add 0 plus negative 10 is negative 10. And then I multiply back again. So I'm going negative 2 times 5 gives me negative 10. Negative 2 times negative 10 gives me positive 20. Now I add Negative 2 plus 20 is 18. And now I multiply again. Negative 2 times 18 is 36. Negative 36. And then I add 8 plus negative 36 is negative 28. And now I do my multiply again. Negative 2 times negative 28 is positive 56, and 56 plus 6 is 62. So this zigzag part of the instructions is number 5 and 6. Multiply the number below the line by the number in the corner, and then move it over, write it underneath the next number, add, and repeat. Now the last part is to interpret the results. So remember, all I have here are coefficients. 5, well, what's the power of x? It's 1 less than the highest power in the dividend. So the dividend has x fourth. I write x third with the 5 minus 10, and then I just go down in descending order, x squared plus 18x minus 28. And then the remainder is the 62, so that'll be plus 62 over the divisor x plus 2. And there we go. We went through the steps. In this example, I have x to the 4th power minus 81 divided by x minus 3. So when I start to write coefficients, I have 1 times x fourth, I have 0 x thirds, 0 x squareds, and 0 x's, and then I have a negative 81. I wrote the powers of x up above so you can see them, but you don't need to do that. Now I draw the line underneath, and I leave space for some other numbers, and I start by bringing down the 1. But I haven't written the divisor yet. So I have a negative 3 here. I put the opposite in the corner. Alright, now I do the zigzag multiply, add, so forth. So 3 times 1 is 3. 0 plus 3 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 0 plus 9 is 9. 3 times 9 is 27. 0 plus 27 is 27. And 3 times 3 is 81. And negative 81 plus 81 is 0. Now that last number is the remainder. So I have a remainder of 0 here. Let's interpret the result. I started with an x fourth, so my answer has x third plus 3x squared plus 9x plus 27 and no remainder. I have a lot of steps written here. If you like to think in words, you might want to write these down. If you think more in patterns, just remember the zigzag pattern, steps 5 and 6 here.